What if one decision, one single stroke of a pen, could erase everything Harry and Meghan have built in America? Imagine waking up one morning, thinking your life is secure, only to realize that the rules have changed, and now your very right to stay in your home is under threat. That's the world Prince Harry and Meghan Markle suddenly find themselves in. Or at least, that's how the headlines are spinning it. The story starts quietly, almost like a whisper in the corridors of Washington and Los Angeles. But it quickly became a storm that has everyone talking. Meghan and Harry potentially facing deportation after Donald Trump allegedly moves to revoke Harry's O-1 visa amid an ongoing lawsuit that has already rattled their world. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Now, stop for a second and consider that a visa, something that sounds technical, boring, administrative, has become the fulcrum for what could be one of the most dramatic chapters in modern celebrity history. This isn't just about paperwork. It's about power, politics, privilege, and the fragility of even the most seemingly secure lives. It's about fame colliding with the law, and the fallout is something no one can ignore. Meghan, the public darling, once revered and scrutinized in equal measure, is reportedly in tears. Harry, a prince who traded royal privilege for personal freedom, faces a scenario he never imagined, fighting not just public opinion, but legal reality in a country that welcomed him as one of its own, at least until now. The opening moments of this story are intense. Picture a darkened room, lawyers pacing back and forth, phones buzzing with urgent texts. The television in the background murmurs the latest speculation. Social media explodes with every twist, as millions of people debate what might happen next. In that room, Meghan is silent, but the tension is visible. Harry, who has spent so many years in the glare of media scrutiny, is now staring at a reality where celebrity and privilege may not save him. You don't need to understand every clause of immigration law to feel the weight of this moment. The stakes are clear. The fear is real. The uncertainty is paralyzing. And yet, there's more beneath the surface. Because this isn't simply a matter of visas and deportation notices. There's a lawsuit in play, a document filed months ago that suddenly resurfaces at the most inopportune moment. It's been quiet, almost invisible, but now it's threatening to unravel everything. The lawsuit isn't just about paperwork. It's about principle, precedent, and perception. If Harry's O-1 visa can be challenged and possibly revoked, what does that say about fairness in America? And more importantly, how does it affect someone like Meghan, whose own legal and professional status is intertwined with Harry's? The implications reach far beyond the royal couple themselves. They ripple through Hollywood, the media, and public perception. You might be wondering, how did it come to this? How did a prince and a former actress, two people who seem to have it all, end up potentially being forced to leave the country that has become their home? The answer is complicated. It starts with the very nature of the O-1 visa, which is reserved for individuals who possess extraordinary ability in their field. On paper, Harry qualifies because of his charitable work, public speaking, and high-profile influence. But visas aren't just about qualifications. They're also about politics, optics, and timing. And in this case, timing could be everything. Enter the lawsuit, a legal filing that, depending on interpretation, casts doubt on Harry's eligibility. Suddenly, what was once secure is precarious. The lines between legality, morality, and media spectacle blur. Public reaction has been immediate and intense. On social media, hashtags trend and opinions fly. One side argues that the system is fair, that Harry and Meghan are no different than any other celebrity navigating immigration law. Another side claims that privilege has shielded them for too long, that this is finally a reckoning. The media amplifies every statement, misquote, and whisper. Every rumor is treated as breaking news. Every opinion is presented as fact. In this chaotic environment, reality itself becomes slippery. The audience doesn't just follow the story, they become part of it, debating, speculating, and reacting in real time. And amid all this, Harry and Meghan are left to confront a personal and public crisis simultaneously, navigating legal battles while under the relentless gaze of millions. But the emotional core of the story is what resonates most. Meghan, in particular, is reportedly in tears, struggling with the idea that everything she has built, her home, her career, her family life, could be upended. She has faced public scrutiny before, of course, but this is different. This is not paparazzi gossip. This is legal jeopardy. This is the kind of threat that can alter the course of a life. And Harry, who has long been cast as the protector, the problem solver, now faces the harrowing reality that some forces may be beyond even his control. Their relationship, their family, and their sense of security are all on the line. You feel the tension. You feel the suspense. You feel the human drama unfolding in real time. Adding fuel to the fire is the political backdrop. Donald Trump, no stranger to controversy or spectacle, has reportedly weighed in on the situation. Whether it's a strategic move, personal vendetta, or political theater, the implication is clear. This isn't just a legal matter. It's a story that intersects with power, influence, and celebrity in ways that are unpredictable and, frankly, alarming. In a world where headlines can shape reality, where speculation can become fact in the court of public opinion, every move Harry and Meghan make is scrutinized. Every whisper in the media, every hint in a legal document, every political comment becomes a piece of a puzzle that may, or may not, determine their fate. And here's where it gets really interesting. While the focus is on the couple's potential deportation, the story also shines a light on the broader questions it raises. How much protection does privilege buy? How do legal systems handle high-profile figures differently from ordinary citizens? What happens when public perception collides with law? These are not easy questions, and the answers are never simple. But they make the story more compelling, more urgent, more human. Because at its heart, this isn't just a tale about royalty or celebrity. It's about security, identity, and the terrifying possibility that the rules you thought were fixed might suddenly change. We also have to consider the role of the children. Harry and Meghan's family, while often shielded from public view, is inextricably tied to the drama. The thought of uprooting a family, of children losing the stability of their home, of a family facing uncertainty, adds a weighty emotional layer to an already tense narrative. Viewers can empathize with that fear, the fear of displacement, the fear of losing what you hold dear, the fear of being forced to navigate a world that suddenly feels hostile. And the media, always hungry for drama, ensures that these elements are never far from the public eye. By now, you may be asking, what will happen next? Will the lawsuit succeed? Will the O-1 visa be revoked? Will Meghan's tears turn into public statements? Will Harry find a legal path forward? The story teases answers but withholds closure, keeping audiences on edge. That uncertainty, that suspended moment of tension, is what drives engagement. It's the curiosity gap at its finest. And it's precisely what makes this story impossible to ignore. Because the truth is, whether you love them, hate them, or are simply fascinated by the spectacle, Harry and Meghan's predicament taps into something universal: the fragility of security. No one is immune from the possibility that the ground beneath them could shift, that their status could be challenged, that everything they take for granted could be questioned. And when you combine that universal fear with celebrity, politics, and legal drama, you have a story that transcends the ordinary. It becomes addictive, urgent, and compelling. And yet, there's a twist you haven't heard. Behind the headlines, there are whispers of documents, emails, and filings that no one has fully disclosed. One of these documents, long buried in court archives, may hold the key to understanding why this situation escalated so quickly. Some say it could exonerate the couple entirely. Others claim it will change everything. It's a narrative thread that promises revelations, but only if you follow the story closely. The stakes are not just personal. They are historical. They are legal. And they are utterly unpredictable. So, as we step into this saga, remember this: the headlines are just the beginning. Social media speculation is just noise. The real drama is unfolding behind closed doors, in courtrooms, and in the private moments that no one else sees. Meghan and Harry are at the center of a storm that could redefine celebrity, law, and privilege in America. And as you watch, you're not just witnessing history. You're part of it, because the reactions, the debates, and the discussions you engage in shape the perception of what is happening. The story is alive, and it is moving fast. And yet, despite all of this tension, one question remains: what happens next? Because in legal matters, as in life, timing is everything. A single filing, a single decision, a single public statement could tip the scales. And until that moment comes, the world watches, speculates, and wonders. Will Harry and Meghan be forced to leave the country they now call home? Will the lawsuit crumble? Will Trump's involvement make a difference? Or is this just the beginning of a saga that will continue to captivate, shock, and surprise for months to come? One thing is certain: the story is far from over. The drama has only just begun, and the consequences, both personal and public, are impossible to overstate. Because if this legal challenge succeeds, even partially, it won't just affect Harry and Meghan. It could set a precedent that changes the way celebrity, immigration, and law intersect forever. And as the tension builds, as the documents circulate, as the whispers become headlines, the question looms larger with every passing day. Can anyone truly be safe when the rules change overnight? Can anyone survive the collision of fame, politics, and legal scrutiny? What if the world you thought was untouchable suddenly began to crumble under the weight of a single headline? That's exactly what happened when rumors of Harry and Meghan's deportation first surfaced. At first, it was a quiet murmur in certain corners of the media, a few social media posts here, an obscure tabloid story there. But whispers have a strange way of growing. By the end of the day, the claim that the couple could be forced to leave the United States had ignited a global conversation, and panic, shock, and disbelief spread like wildfire. Imagine waking up to a world where your life in California, your home, your family, your career, might no longer be legal. That's the scenario the Duke and Duchess of Sussex suddenly faced. For ordinary citizens, deportation is an abstract fear, a distant possibility. For Harry and Meghan, people who once held one of the most scrutinized public roles in the world, it became intensely real. Their name, their family, and even their children were now part of a story that could alter everything. The sheer audacity of it all, the idea that even royalty isn't immune, shocked the public and fueled endless speculation. At the heart of the frenzy is the concept of deportation itself. For most of us, it conjures dramatic images: frantic packing, tearful goodbyes, a rushed journey out of the country. But in legal reality, deportation is more nuanced. It involves a complex web of immigration laws, filings, hearings, and potential appeals. And yet, when the word deportation is attached to a name like Harry or Meghan, nuance vanishes. Headlines scream, social media explodes, and public perception becomes absolute. The story is no longer about law. It's about fear, drama, and optics. The shockwave began subtly. A minor legal update in a federal court filing, which most people would have overlooked, suddenly made its way into the hands of a few journalists. Within hours, the narrative transformed. Harry's O-1 visa, the special visa that allowed him to live and work in the United States, was now allegedly under threat of revocation. The court filing didn't scream deportation, but in a world addicted to clicks and sensationalism, the interpretation was immediate. Overnight, the couple went from being celebrated for their charitable work to being cast as embattled foreigners in a land they had chosen as home. What makes this story particularly compelling is the speed with which rumors morph into perceived reality. Within hours of the initial reports, social media became a battlefield. Fans, critics, journalists, and casual observers debated endlessly. Was deportation imminent? Was this a political maneuver? Was it media fabrication? The uncertainty itself fueled engagement. Each post, each comment, each retweet amplified the tension. Ordinary citizens began imagining themselves in the couple's shoes, wondering what they would do if their life, stability, and family were suddenly threatened. Amid all this, Harry and Meghan reportedly found themselves navigating a delicate balance. On the one hand, they had legal counsel, experts, and the privilege to challenge any action taken against them. On the other hand, the constant media scrutiny magnified every misstep, every rumor, and every unverified claim. What might have been a straightforward legal procedure for an ordinary person suddenly became a high-stakes public spectacle. Every statement had consequences, every silence was interpreted as guilt or weakness, and every appearance was dissected by millions. The couple's personal anxiety became public property, consumed, analyzed, and debated by an audience that felt invested in the outcome. Adding fuel to the fire was the very nature of celebrity in America. Harry and Meghan aren't just any immigrants. They are public figures whose every action is scrutinized. The public's fascination with royalty, Hollywood, and scandal created a perfect storm. Suddenly, the deportation narrative was not just about law. It was about culture, politics, and social perception. It was a story that allowed people to project their fears, judgments, and prejudices onto a high-profile target. Some saw it as poetic justice, some as an unjust attack, and some simply as the most riveting news of the week. Yet, amid the public hysteria, there was a quieter, more sobering reality. For the couple, the shockwave of deportation rumors triggered real anxiety. Reports suggest that Meghan, in particular, felt the weight of the moment intensely. She had fought public scrutiny before, but this was different. This was not gossip or tabloids. This was legal jeopardy that could force her family to uproot, destabilize her children's lives, and challenge everything she had built in the United States. Harry, too, felt the tension. He had always been the protector, the figure who shields his family from harm. But here, the threat was multifaceted, legal, political, social, and deeply personal. Even for a former prince, there are situations where privilege offers no shield. The story also highlighted the role of the media in shaping reality. From the very beginning, some outlets portrayed the scenario as imminent, almost inevitable, while others cautioned that the claims were exaggerated. This tension between speculation and fact is a defining feature of modern journalism in high-profile cases. For viewers and readers, it becomes difficult to separate truth from narrative. Every update carries weight, and every interpretation can influence public perception. Harry and Meghan's lives, in other words, became a battleground not just for legal outcomes, but for narrative control. What intensified the shockwave even further were the international implications. Imagine a visa that sounds harmless, almost bureaucratic, suddenly becoming the most powerful and precarious document in the world. For Prince Harry, the O-1 visa wasn't just a piece of paper. It was the lifeline that allowed him to live in the United States, to work freely, to build a new chapter far from the corridors of Buckingham Palace. On paper, the O-1 visa is reserved for people of extraordinary ability, those whose talent or achievement in their field is deemed exceptional. In Harry's case, supporters argue that his public speaking, charitable work, and influence easily qualify him. Critics, however, claim it's a loophole, a system stretched by celebrity, privilege, and political attention. And now, that very visa is under the microscope. The story begins with the basics. The O-1 visa is meant for individuals who demonstrate extraordinary ability in fields like arts, sciences, business, or athletics. For decades, it has allowed countless innovators, artists, and entertainers to come to the United States legally. For Harry, the justification rested on his philanthropic initiatives, media projects, and public appearances. From the Invictus Games to speeches advocating for mental health, he built a resume that, on paper, fits the O-1 criteria. But visas aren't just about qualifications. They're also about interpretation, context, and sometimes political appetite. What qualifies as extraordinary can be subjective, and in Harry's case, subjectivity has become a weapon wielded by critics and allies alike. It's not just about Harry's achievements. The timing of the visa application, the political climate, and the surrounding legal documents all play a role. A visa that was once secure now feels exposed to scrutiny. Why? Because a lawsuit has cast doubt on whether his O-1 status was fully justified. And suddenly, a process that normally moves quietly behind the scenes has become a media spectacle, dissected in every headline, discussed endlessly on social media, and debated on television panels. The ordinary bureaucracy of immigration law has been transformed into a high-stakes drama with global audiences. Now, consider the emotional weight of the situation. For someone living under public scrutiny, a visa isn't just legal protection, it's peace of mind. Losing it, or even having it questioned, can feel like an existential threat. Every phone call becomes fraught. Every email from lawyers carries a pulse of urgency. And for Meghan, who depends on Harry's status for her own residence. The situation is doubly terrifying. The O-1 visa, in this sense, becomes more than a document. It becomes a symbol of stability, safety, and the ability to continue life as they know it. Without it, everything is up in the air. The controversy deepens when you consider precedent. Historically, O-1 visas have occasionally been revoked or challenged, but rarely has the spotlight been so bright. Harry's high profile means that any legal challenge is amplified exponentially. Whereas an average applicant might quietly contest a ruling through legal channels, Harry's every action is scrutinized, tweeted about, and broadcasted. The legal question suddenly becomes a cultural question. Should fame allow someone special treatment, or is Harry now facing a reckoning that ordinary citizens endure silently every day? The public debate is intense, polarizing, and, for the couple, exhausting. Supporters argue that Harry's visa is legitimate. They point to his achievements, his charity work, his media presence, and his influence in international affairs. By these measures, he meets the standards for extraordinary ability. Critics counter that celebrity should not equate to extraordinary merit, that the system has been bent by public attention, and that allowing high-profile figures to navigate these channels erodes fairness. The argument is not just legal. It is philosophical, raising questions about equity, privilege, and what constitutes true merit. Adding complexity is the role of politics. The rumor that Donald Trump might have influenced or weighed in on the visa situation elevates the stakes. Whether true or not, the perception of political involvement adds a layer of tension. The O-1 visa, which is ordinarily an administrative process, suddenly feels like a chess piece in a much larger game. For Harry, a man accustomed to public attention but rarely to legal ambiguity at this scale, it's a new kind of pressure. And for Meghan, whose life and career are intertwined with his status, it is even more personal. The emotional strain cannot be overstated. Imagine knowing that the very document allowing you to live legally in a country is being questioned, possibly revoked, while every movement you make is scrutinized by millions. It's an impossible situation. Panic, anxiety, and uncertainty take root quickly. Meghan reportedly found herself breaking down at the thought, overwhelmed by the fragility of the life she had carefully built. Harry, accustomed to controlling situations, now faces a challenge he cannot dominate with charm, influence, or public relations expertise. The law, unlike media or celebrity, has its own pace and its own power. Yet, there's an ironic twist. The O-1 visa is celebrated for enabling extraordinary individuals to contribute to American culture and society. It is, in theory, a recognition of talent and impact. And yet, in Harry's case, the very same document becomes a lightning rod for criticism and controversy. Suddenly, what was meant to symbolize achievement becomes a potential threat. The public, the media, and political actors all converge to reinterpret what was once straightforward. It's a stark reminder that legality, perception, and privilege often collide in unexpected ways. And then there's the lawsuit that refuses to fade. Buried in legal filings, it raises questions about Harry's qualifications, the influence of celebrity, and the integrity of the O-1 process itself. Lawyers, analysts, and journalists dissect every line, every claim, and every precedent. Some argue that the lawsuit is technical and unlikely to succeed. Others warn that even a minor ruling could cascade into consequences that reshape Harry and Meghan's lives. For the couple, the tension is constant. The visa, once a symbol of stability, now hangs like a sword over their heads, a reminder that even privilege has its limits. Adding to the suspense is the question of timing. Legal challenges can take months or years, yet the media treats every minor update as immediate drama. One misinterpreted filing can be tweeted as breaking news. One speculative article can dominate headlines for days. For Harry and Meghan, managing the narrative is nearly impossible. Every word, every appearance, every silence is scrutinized, and every misstep is amplified. In this environment, even mundane legal processes become life-altering spectacles. And yet, Harry's story is not just about risk, it's about strategy. Sources suggest that his legal team has been meticulously documenting achievements, preparing appeals, and analyzing every angle. Every speech, every charitable act, every media project becomes part of the defense. The O-1 visa is not simply a status. It is a battleground. And for Meghan, the stakes are just as high. Her American citizenship is tied to the stability of Harry's visa. Without it, she faces uncertainty she has never known. The public reaction adds another layer. Some see Harry as a victim of politics and media frenzy. Others see him as an emblem of privilege being challenged fairly. The narrative is fractured, and the commentary ranges from outrage to schadenfreude. Every debate, every article, every opinion reinforces the tension, ensuring that the story remains a constant presence in public consciousness. And for Harry and Meghan, it becomes a relentless cycle. Stress, strategy, scrutiny, repeat. But the most compelling aspect of this chapter isn't the legal minutiae, it's the human element. Imagine being a public figure whose very right to exist in a country is questioned, whose life is dissected in front of millions, whose every move is analyzed as if on trial. Imagine the anxiety, the frustration, and the fear. Imagine knowing that a simple legal interpretation, a single judge's decision, could reshape your life entirely. This is the reality of the O-1 visa for Prince Harry. And yet, there's an underlying question that no one can answer yet. Is this challenge purely about legality, or is it about precedent? If Harry's visa can be questioned, what does that mean for other high-profile figures? Could this case redefine the boundaries of privilege and celebrity in immigration law? The implications are staggering. The O-1 visa, intended to recognize extraordinary talent, has suddenly become a test case for the collision of law, fame, and politics. By now, the tension is palpable. The story of the O-1 visa is not just a legal drama. It's a human drama, a political drama, and a cultural spectacle all rolled into one. The stakes couldn't be higher. And as we move forward, one fact becomes clear. Whether the visa survives, whether the lawsuit succeeds, whether the couple remains in the United States, all of it hinges on decisions, filings, and interpretations that are happening quietly but will soon explode into public consciousness. It started quietly, buried in legal filings that most people would never read. A single lawsuit, almost invisible to the casual observer, suddenly became the focal point of a global media storm. To outsiders, it might have seemed like a minor procedural matter, just another footnote in the complex world of immigration law. But for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, it became a ticking time bomb, threatening to destabilize the life they had carefully built in the United States. This was more than paperwork. It was a challenge, a question, and a looming threat wrapped into one. Could the legal system, driven by scrutiny, political pressure, and technical interpretation, strip them of the right to live and work in their chosen home? The lawsuit itself is as intricate as it is unusual. Filed months ago, it questions aspects of Harry's O-1 visa, arguing that certain criteria may not have been fully met. On paper, this sounds technical, almost mundane, but the implications are enormous. If the claims gain traction, it could open the door to revocation, appeals, and a legal nightmare that would consume months, or even years, of their lives. Legal experts have weighed in on both sides. Some argue that the suit is unlikely to succeed, that Harry's qualifications are clear and well documented. Others warn that even minor technical discrepancies could be exploited to challenge the visa's validity. The tension lies in the gray areas, where interpretation, timing, and legal nuance collide. What makes this lawsuit particularly dangerous and newsworthy is not just its content, but the context. The couple is already under constant public scrutiny. Every step, every word, every gesture is dissected by millions. The lawsuit, then, is more than a legal proceeding. It's a media spectacle. The press has seized on every update, every filing, every court date, and transformed it into drama. Social media erupts with speculation. Opinion pieces debate fairness and privilege. Every rumor spreads like wildfire, and Harry and Meghan's lives become an open book for the world to judge. The court, in other words, is not the only arena. They are simultaneously battling public perception and legal interpretation. The emotional weight of the lawsuit cannot be overstated. For Meghan, the implications are deeply personal. Her ability to live and work in the U.S. depends on Harry's status. Every legal maneuver, every delay, every argument in court is a potential threat to the life she and her family have built. Sources suggest that she experiences constant anxiety, haunted by the possibility that a judge's ruling could disrupt her children's lives, her career plans, and her sense of security. For Harry, it's a different kind of pressure. He has faced public scrutiny before, but never a legal situation so intertwined with family, reputation, and personal freedom. The lawsuit forces him to navigate not only the complexities of law, but also the relentless glare of a public that expects transparency, composure, and accountability. The public reaction has been intense and polarized. Some see the lawsuit as an example of accountability, a legal system finally challenging privilege. Others perceive it as harassment or political maneuvering, an unnecessary attack on individuals who have already faced relentless scrutiny. The debate extends beyond the specifics of the case to larger questions about fairness, celebrity, and law. How much protection does fame afford? Is it a shield or a liability? Could ordinary citizens ever hope for the same attention or the same leniency? The narrative becomes a prism through which society examines its own values, biases, and expectations. Behind the headlines, the legal battle is far more nuanced than most people realize. Lawyers dissect every phrase in the original filings. Courtroom strategy is meticulously planned, with teams analyzing precedents, documentation, and potential counterarguments. What might seem like a minor procedural issue can become pivotal. Every document submitted, every witness statement, and every interpretation of law carries enormous weight. For the couple, the smallest mistake or oversight could have disproportionate consequences, and the pressure to maintain flawless legal representation is relentless. Adding to the suspense is the role of timing. Legal processes move slowly, but the public demand